Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I am joined by a woman who has joined us before. This is her second or third appearance here on the program, and I've always enjoyed talking with her for 2 reasons. Number one, because she comes to us all the way from Ireland, which I wish we were face-to-face there in Ireland, Carol, to discuss the second reason why I'm glad you're with us. And it is to talk about things of a, I'll refer to it this way, Carol, as a non-earthly subject or conversation, if you will. And thank you for being with us again. And
Thank you, Richard. It's lovely to be here. I'm very much looking forward to connecting in with you always. And what a time to be alive. There's so much happening in the world, so many discoveries, and not to mention Egypt, the most recent major one. And hasn't the world changed since we were kids growing up?
Oh, the world has changed since we were kids growing up. The world has changed even since you and I spoke the last time. Which is interesting in and of itself. You know, we're all looking at making our own way, so to speak. But from the conversation I've had with you and many others, we don't get here alone. We don't get here all by ourselves. This is not something that is a solo effort, even though, when you think about it, put it in this context, we do come into this world alone. Now, all right, yeah, maybe there are people around when you arrive, but the journey is yours and yours alone. And when we leave alone. Yeah, there are a lot of people around you when you depart the body, but it's just you, and it's a solo trip. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, maybe even those transitions, but we're going to do something else very special. And we're going to have Carol channel for us in this particular program and ask some questions. And can you share with us, Carol, who it is that we're going to be speaking or conversing with when we begin this process?
Thank you, Richard. So I channel the Pleiadians, the Pleiadian collective. I also channel Jesus or Yeshua and Ashtar Commander, which is a spokesperson for the Pleiadian collective.
Okay.
I also channel other guides and light beings, but those are the most predominant. They always are with me in any work that I do, whether it's the reading or um, not just channeling. They're always with me. But but predominantly it is Ashtar Commander, and Jesus is normally by his side because Jesus was, I've been told, Pleiadian, is Pleiadian.
Mhm. Well, there are those who do believe that he, Jesus, was not of this world, and at the same time was of this world. And I just find it fascinating that there are those who do believe wholeheartedly in that process, and yet other people who believe other fantastic things, okay, in other philosophies, um, really really interesting to it's just interesting that they will accept their philosophy, the details therein, but other people who have those fantastic concepts, no, that's not possible because it's not in the book. And it's like I remember hearing this, Carol, about truth. Truth is only truth until it's written down. And once it's written down, people dissect it and they do a forensic tests on it, and they've been doing so for 1,500 years. And I find it fascinating some of the conclusions that some people come to. I mean, I only have the text, and then there's this book they call a concordance that has every word and its origins in the original languages and its meaning in the context of the passage that we would be, pursuing or investigating. So I find that, again, very interesting. I'll tell you what, first of all, we're going to introduce you to our listeners through the process of having you share with us how this all began for you. Then we're going to take a short pause so that you can then go through the process necessary to bring in the Pleiadians and or Jesus, however that manifests for us here on the program. Tell us when and how this all started for you, and when you reached that point that you said, "Yeah, you accepted it. This was your gift."
That is such a great question. So the first time I left my body was that I remember consciously, was when I was 8. And I had a very heavy, drunk man laying on top of me. And I was a skinny little thing. I was tiny, I was underfed, undernourished, and I couldn't breathe. I literally could not breathe. And I left my body. And I didn't really understand what he was doing. I knew it was bad and wrong. And I was scared, but I didn't really understand at that age about sex or what he was doing. And I think we spoke about this before. But anyway, I left my body and I went up to the left, and the Pleiadians connected in with me for a very short few moments or seconds. It was absolutely no more than 5 minutes, if it was even that. And at that age, I never knew who they were. I never spoke of it. I didn't know who they were, but they had a very short message for me, and basically it went something like, "It's going to be okay. You're going to be back in your body in a minute, and it will be fine." And then at the same time, or just after that message, before I came back into my body, I could see my brother in the corridor coming down the corridor, because we had a very long corridor that ran parallel to the stretch of all the rooms in the flat. It was quite a large flat. Um, and I could see him coming down the hallway. And then I saw him, and I was in my bedroom. I wasn't in the hallway. I was seeing from above. I must have been. And then he came in and dragged the man off me. And then I could also see my mum coming down the corridor. And so I was only half in my body and half out for the to be able to see my brother and my mum coming down the corridor at different times. My mum followed, and then she came in, and there was a big to do, because she didn't know what had happened. And then, so many, many years later, um, I had forgotten a lot of the childhood memories. And then in 2009 or 2010, so I would have had a childhood full of back-to-back strange experiences, which I consider now, in some wisdom that I have, to be training. I was being trained as a child. And then in 2009, 2010, I consciously began to channel the Pleiadians through an email sent to me by the Crystal Skull explorer, Joshua Shapiro, who didn't know me, but was given my name by the Pleiadians, and said as much in the email. And then straight away I began to channel the Pleiadians again, having forgotten all of my childhood channelings and transmissions and experiences was with the Pleiadians. I just always thought of them as my guides. And then skipping forward, I then began to do shamanic training in Ireland, where in one particular weekend where we did ayahuasca, I had an out-of-body experience again during a shamanic journey, they call them, and was shown my purpose, my mission, and one of my past lives where I'm actually from the Pleiades star system. And I also have rhesus negative blood type, which is a stamp or signal of having Pleiadian bloodline in your DNA, in your blood, in your soul, in your essence, in your energy. And so then so those would have been some of the major experiences, but I had back-to-back experiences that were very much out there as a child, and now I see it as training. So yeah, and my journey is progressive, especially since 2019, 2020. My work has been very progressive, and I've worked with the Pleiadians in lots of different ways. So sometimes they actually step into my body, which is called trance voice channeling. So it's channeling to kind of to the highest form. But I've been doing this since I was a child. So and it is progressive because it is part of my mission here on Earth. And it's funny you were saying, because collectively we are here en masse to make such a huge difference to humanity. So that is a few things.
Well, I'll tell you, I would venture that some of us have had similar experiences and have probably ignored them. We may not have understood what was happening, but it was outside the realms of our understanding. So we just maybe we blocked it, we set it aside, what have you. But I have a feeling that a lot of people have been contacted, or there has been an attempt to connect with a lot of individuals. And in essence, subconsciously, maybe they've said, no, not interested. My focus is on, the material world and da 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 da. So what we're going to do here, Carol, we're going to take a little break. Carol Noonan is my guest here on the program where we're talking about the Pleiadians. She's going to come back. She is going to come back, but she won't be alone. I think that's a good way to put it, right? You won't be alone. And we're going to continue our conversation with a member of this elite group, if you will. I consider them so because I think they're a heck of a lot smarter than we are. If there are creatures out there looking for intelligent life, don't come here. Based upon what we've been doing over the centuries we've been here, please. And if you do come here, could you bring some education and intelligence with you that we could ingest, if you will, or as an author of the book Stranger in a Strange Land says, that we could grok, which means, from my perspective, to assimilate into every subatomic particle of our being. We will continue here with Carol Noonan. I'm Richard Dugan. This is Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, and our special guest today is Carol Noonan, but she is in the process right now of bringing in the Pleiadians, if you will. Maybe a particular voice, could be a collection of voices. I know that when I was in Phoenix, Arizona, with my wife, my second wife, we would attend these gatherings at this one woman's house, and she would bring in a collective called Equinox. Now, they weren't necessarily aliens, although I suppose you could define them that way. And there was a small charge, and they would have a message that they would give to the collective group. And then you got to ask a question of a personal nature, if you felt comfortable in the group. Or most times people would say, "So, Equinox, what message do you have for me?" And of course, I remember one I got was, "What are you still doing here?" I'm going, "Huh?" He says, "Why are you still here? Why are you not by the water? Why aren't you by the ocean?" So, well, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. So it was very interesting. Let us go back to at least, I guess, the body of Carol Noonan. May I ask who we will be speaking with at this point in time?
We would say the Pleiadian collective, with predominant speakers being Ashtar Commander Ella, let us call her Ella, and also the being known as Yeshua or Jesus.
Well, let me welcome both Ella and Yeshua to our program. Thank you for being with us and for coming through.
We would like to add, thank you. We would like to add that there is also a very strong Native American connection with us today that is connected to you, Richard, and also connected to us. We had a very strong presence and connection at one point in the Native American people, civilization, and that is why they write or share their history with us, included in it so much, because we were there with them in a period of history. And we've not really shared this before through Soma in this way.
Well, I only recently, and when I say recently, in the last few years, when having the DNA testing, found out that I had a connection to what we refer to as the Native Americans, both North, Central, and South America, among other aspects of the genealogy, if you will. And for so long, living in an area that had a large number of tribes and so forth, I felt it a level of disrespect to be involved in or to be pursuing information about the Native Americans. I felt a little bit like what we call an interloper. I didn't really belong. And then, of course, I get the DNA test. Next thing I know, oh, I do belong, and I can do some study. But even more importantly, I found a connection that I hadn't pursued at that point to the Native Americans in terms of the rituals, what some might call the medicine. So I feel a connection. Can you share with us, and can this particular individual share with us something that we might need to know about at this particular point in time in our history, shall we say, as far as allowing us to grasp what is happening in our world, in the material world, and put what I'll say is a proper perspective so as not to get stuck in the quagmire or the minutia of the material world, but continue the process of raising our consciousness, of connecting with the divine, etc.
Thank you. We will add, rather, I will add that, Chief, when I say I mean me. Soma or Carol, whichever name you choose to give her, there are so many of us here today, but this one was saying that she does channel different beings, light beings. Today we do have Jesus with us. We also have Chief Golden Light Eagle, who you also have a connection to, Richard. Quite simply put, your world is changing. It is in an evolutionary period in a very physical 3D way. Your Earth is changing, thus causing weather changes. Your Earth is shifting back onto her natural axis. In every system is changing. There is a replacing of a new guard, a new energy, a new beginning within every system that has been corrupted by negative ET energies. Your planet was invaded at the time of the downfall of Atlantis. This is what caused the downfall of Atlantis. You were invaded. There are many aspects to what is happening now. The universe is teeming with life everywhere. The universe is teeming with life. You are not alone on your planet Earth as human beings. You are part of a much greater plan where there are other human beings on other similar planets to Earth. There are many different planets, suns, stars, moons, star systems. Some are similar in inhabitable like Earth, but many are very different and inhabit beings that look slightly different to you, are slightly different to you. Your universe is teeming with life. The universe is going through an evolutionary period. It is not limited to your Earth. It is, thank you, it is not limited to your galaxy. It is not limited to your universe. It is not limited to any one thing. It is part of God's source, is itself evolving. You could replace the word consciousness with that. God source word,
Mm-hmm.
or the great I am. But everything is evolving, and you are seeing this. Everything is evolving at the very highest level. And you are seeing this play out on your 3D physical Earth. Changes in weather, changes in all systems on Earth, changes in discoveries, changes in technology, thank you, changes in the monetary system, changes in the law system, changes in the military system, changes in the political system, changes in every system that you have on your planet. It is a new beginning. It is a evolutionary period that has different aspects, that, such as it has been predicted and prophesied about, even by us, being the Native Americans, by the Hopi, by the Maori, by the Indians, by the Africans, by the so many sacred people have written about and documented and recorded and prophesied about this time now on Earth, which is also related to the 25 or 26,000 year period where stars are aligning, realigning. The Earth is shifting back onto her natural axis. It is a new beginning, a new era, age of Aquarius, a new dawn, a new Earth. It is an evolutionary period. And the Kala, Soma doesn't know how to pronounce it, but the Kala Yuga is also an aspect of this, which is also come to an end, or coming to an end in these days now. So many aspects of thank you. So this evolutionary period has been prophesied and recorded about previously in many different cultures, in many different ways, in many different writings, in many different scriptures, in many different hieroglyphics, and so on and so forth. So that, in very
continue.
That is what's happening.
There are a lot of people who are rather concerned about these changes from many different perspectives. And the concept of duality here on this planet is very, very strong. To the extent that there are many who live by this duality, when in reality, there is no duality. There is no good or bad, right or wrong. When you speak of evolution, it is not that things are going to get better or worse. Things are just going to change or transform, correct?
On a higher level, yes. But on your 3D level, in your 3D mind, things appear to be good and bad, good or bad. But on the highest level, all is one. There is no separation between good or bad, or light and dark, or good and or evil. All is one.
Is there...
We would like to recommend for those, including yourself, that are struggling with, we are laughing because Soma is sitting in a way, and you can't really probably see it on the camera, but Soma is sitting in the stance of Chief Golden Light Eagle and how he would sit. So we were about to say, forgive us, we were about to say that we would recommend for humans that are struggling at this time, actually, we would suggest doing in a very sacred environment with native people or people that are trained and know what they are doing, we would recommend, and for you, Richard, ayahuasca and or other sacred plants and herbs. And we would highly recommend doing this, but doing it with people that are experienced in this way. They may not have a professional physical certificate to do this, but they should be highly trained with knowledge, experience, wisdom, and understanding in these practices. So that is what we would recommend, because it will get you out of your own mind and into an alternative reality immediately. It will allow you to experience. Soma has a love of DMT personally. Soma and us would not recommend that you do any of these by yourself or with an inexperienced person, but rather that you do them with a trained shaman, medicine man.
Yes. You mentioned ayahuasca. Is that correct?
Ayahuasca.
And I need to make sure I'm clear on what we're speaking of. Are we speaking of the language, ayahuasca, or are we speaking of the hallucinogen that people use? Okay. Yes, it's the hallucinogen. DMT, I think, is another acronym. Now that
DMT is different.
It is different. Okay. So ayahuasca, people will travel specifically down to Central and South America from the United States because it is considered illegal here in the United States. And they will have these experiences. The thing that I'm curious about is the whole time aspect. Man created the concept of time. I mean, sunrises and sunsets are cyclical. That's the nature of the universe, if you will, as a planet spins and so forth. But we created the clock and keeping track. There is no time in these experiences. There are those who, if I'm correct, have had experiences where they feel as though they've been gone for days, weeks, months, or years. They come back and ask, how long was I gone? 10 minutes. Is there a way for us to, maybe there isn't, as long as we're in this material world, but is there a way for us to sort of disconnect from the clock, in terms of it controlling our lives, that every move we make is determined by where the hands on the clock are or the numbers on the clock are?
There are different ways to do that. Don't do it. Don't do
it. That's probably the best advice of all. Don't do it.
We are using humor today, but we would like to add that is the time was created to control man and to control humanity's minds, to restrict, to enclose them into a certain time frame and relevance. For example, working a 9-to-5 job. We would recommend that you take off your watches, most especially your smart watches. We would recommend that you have downtime just for you. We would recommend that you meditate. We would recommend that you go out and walk in nature, not with a specific time in mind, but rather just get into the flow of and the feel of however long you want to be in that energy. Meditation is a key to losing track of time. Meditation is also a key to advancing your consciousness.
May I speak with Yeshua? Shalom. I have read in a particular series of books that you experienced while in the body a certain sense of disconnect from humanity, in that humanity placed you up on a pedestal that they couldn't reach, and that you experienced in the human form a sense of loneliness, of separation, that was more created by other humans than by yourself. Is that a fair assessment? And that what you desired was that connection, that community, that union with humanity?
That is somewhat true, and yet not really. I have had actually several lives on your planet, and I am considered to be, I am part of the Pleiadian group or collective, but I have had several lives on your planet. The one you are speaking of was very blissful. And there was a disconnect. There was a sense of frustration, slightly in the way you are speaking, you are accurate, but yet not quite. You are just a little bit off the dial, just slightly. I did not, I did not, Soma is looking for the words. I did not, the best way to describe it in your language is to say that there was a discord amongst humans certain humans at the time with some of my teachings. And of course, there was also the negative agenda upon your planet at that time, which is still in existence today, but does not actually have as much power as you think. So there was a discord with humanity on Earth and my teachings. The I guess you could say the emotions, frustration would be something that I felt or came close to at that time. Frustration that consciousness was not where it could have been. And yet there was part of me on a soul level, and also the human level, with everything that was. I was a great master when I had that particular lifetime on your planet. And there was no mistakes, no incorrectness on a higher level. There were many things going on at your planet, at that time, that were not recorded, that were and still are kept secret.
You stated to...
I would like to add that I had a lifetime in Lemuria and a lifetime in Atlantis.
Hmm. I will pursue those in a moment, but you were speaking to some of your followers at one point, as it is recorded, where they were very concerned about their wherewithal to eat, to drink, to wear, to sleep, and so forth. And you gave a message that there's no need for you to be concerned because, as it was written, your Father in heaven is going to take care of you because you're not that the birds of the air and the lilies of the field aren't important, but that you are his children. You are his offspring. And let tomorrow worry about itself. Let tomorrow worry about tomorrow. That message seems to have been lost over the centuries. And I just want to make sure that I am clear, that I have a clear understanding that that message, whether completely and accurately transcribed, if you will, is correct, that all I really need to do if I am facing certain challenges of a living or financial or food or whatever relationship situation, I just have to remind myself that the universe, the divine, if you will, is taking care of me. I will not be, in a manner of speaking, if I can use this phrase, I will not be forsaken. Is that correct?
You are correct. One of my greatest messages for humanity at that time was that, and still is, was that you are creators. Your mind, your thoughts create your reality. And yet, part of the negative agenda that is coming to an end, which is also to do with ascension and evolution of consciousness on your planet, which you are in very strongly. The negative agenda at play that has been with you since you were invaded at the downfall of Atlantis has its own agenda to do what invaders do, to control, to manipulate you and control you in every way. They did go so far as to change your DNA in order to control you like slaves. My main message is to instow upon you the knowledge of that you are the creators. You can free yourselves from these invisible jails, prisons, cages of control, of working a 9 to 5, of not having enough to pay the bills, of not having enough time, which does not even exist, of not having enough of anything. When you are creators of your own reality.
And so there is indeed an abundance of everything that we needn't to concern ourselves in that regard. We're talking right now with channeled through Carol Noonan, Yeshua, as well as the Pleiadians, and we're going to continue doing so as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and this is a fascinating conversation. We're going to continue here for a few minutes more. And again, my thanks to those who have come through in sharing their wisdom and their insight with us. And hopefully my questions are of a relevant nature in that regard, and that you folks are enjoying this conversation. I know that I am. I do have some an additional question or two in regards to you, Yeshua, and what has been written about following what has been described as the crucifixion, the death, the burial, and then the resurrection, and the first person to then see you. Now, just so the folks who are not watching on YouTube, Carol shook her head no. Now, if I am correct, you're basically, Yeshua, you are saying, no, that did not happen.
Yes. Absurdity. Do you not see that that was a story that was written about me by the negative agenda to make people believe a certain history of my life, to control? Predominantly, there is a very strong connection to religion within that story, his story.
Yeah. I've done the same thing. His
I
story.
did not die on the cross.
So there was an author who wrote a fictional story called The Last Temptation of Christ. And in it, Jesus was not crucified in the story, but went on to live what would be considered a fairly normal life, having a wife and children and so forth. However, at the beginning of the book, because not only did I read it, they then made a movie out of it. Was not a great movie, but I didn't see any blasphemy in it. He basically says in his preface, and I paraphrase, these are just my musings, my imagination. I'm not saying this happened. I'm saying, what if? What if? Is his story probably closer to your earthly life in that first century?
Yes, there are many movies, books, um, things, fictions, even your science fiction. None of it is really false. There has been many books and movies. Science fiction is a particularly good example that are closer to the truth than fiction, that are in fact very real.
Hmm.
I was well traveled. I had many offspring. That was part of my physical reality and soul contract, was to give birth to many children in order to instill my bloodline on your planet.
Hmm. One final question. Is the statement, it is appointed every man once to die and then the judgment, accurate?
Say again?
It is appointed for every man, woman, and child once to die and then the judgment. This is attributed to Paul, the apostle.
Let us answer that in two sections. So, firstly, when you die, it is heaven or a higher dimension. So you are in a very blissful space. Hence the wanting to be in that space.
Mm-hmm.
There is no judgment except self-judgment at a highest level.
And was Lazarus literally raised from the dead, or is that just another story?
It is more literal, thank you. It is more literal than many have been led to believe. It is also the time now.
We've been talking with Yeshua. Please continue.
Let us just add that what is also occurring on your planet, and when we say we work with Soma from a very young age, we being Ashtar and Yeshua.
Mm-hmm.
So it is the returning of the Christ consciousness on your planet now. And so many of my students, the Essenes, who were with me then, are with me now on your planet.
Mm-hmm.
And are connected to me now, have a relationship and channeling and telepathic communication with me. In your lifetime, you have it now because you were part of the Essenes, and there was a greater number of Essenes back then than is known about or has been kept secret. Thousands more.
Is it at all important that people believe what has been shared in our time together? Or is it more important that those who even consider the possibility of the truths that have been shared, or does any of that really matter whether one believes it or not? We need to find a way to coexist as human beings, not even as earthlings and Pleiadians, but as human beings living on the same planet together.
What really matters is that humanity collectively, and most important, individually, with regards to your question, individually raise their consciousness, frequency, vibration, energy, including the love frequency or the frequency of love, which is measurable and therefore something that you can create within you. So it is more important to raise your consciousness, raise your energy, raise your frequency than to believe Soma Ra, or to believe Drunvalo Melchizedek, or to believe Cryon, or to believe any name you wish to choose. It is more important for individuals who are disbelieving and questioning and frustrated, and even on the more negative emotions such as anger and shock and shame and the lower frequencies. It is more important for those people to raise their frequency, their energy, their wisdom, their energy, their consciousness, their awareness. And then they will come into alignment with our teachings, whether it be Ashtar Commander, Yeshua, or Jesus, or Ella, or other beings that and guides that work through this one.
I actually have one final question I want to put to the collective, whether it be Ella, Ashtar, or Yeshua. Can you explain the relationship between free will, predestination, fate, and what our role in the universe is? Are we choosing, or are we puppets on a string being manipulated by forces we do not understand?
All of those things and more I can do and you will achieve. All of those things. Some of you will hear the relevance of me having said that in a previous lifetime when I was known as Jesus. There is free will, there is predestiny, there is soul contracts, there is new contracts, there are different timelines even where you having different experiences on different timelines.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a multitude of what you have said is all accurate. Thank you. You can look at a tree with a group of people surrounding the tree, and all will have a different understanding, a different perspective, a different image, a different experience. And yet it is the same tree. None of you are wrong.
So they all work together. They
Exactly.
are all part of, if I may, the universal plan, if you will. And is the divine, as described, omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent? And what I mean by that is, especially with the foreknowledge, that the divine has known from the beginning, wherever that is, that everything that has happened, is happening, and will happen, that was part of the plan in the general sense.
In the greatest sense.
Okay.
Let us describe visually an ocean of water, which is God. A grand, vast, deep, expansive, infinite water of God, of consciousness. You are the individual droplets. And at the same time, you are the whole ocean. You are the humans having an individual experience of that individual droplet now on Earth. But you have a higher soul as well. And you have more than one soul. The universe is vast, as is consciousness or God source itself, as is different aspects involving science, quantum physics. We would give an example here that you are able to be in multiple places all at the same time. Such as you are able to have a lifetime on a star system such as us, and yet you are able to be on Earth in a physical body. You are also able to pass away on your planet and then reincarnate again and again and again and again. you are able to be in spirit and also be reborn in reincarnation, where a medium will be able to connect to the spirit version of you in spirit, and also the child of you now, having been reborn. So there is a vastness to dimensions, to time, to timelines, to the true nature of reality is very different to what you have been taught. We will add that there are huge discoveries coming to your planet of your past, present, and future. There will be landings. There will be huge cities unearthed beneath the land, the sacred sites. One has occurred recently. There is much more to come.
Well, we are a curious lot, we human beings, and we're always endeavoring to find the answers to many of the questions that we have about certain civilizations and about our existence overall. So I'm excited about the prospects of learning about these things. I thank all of you, Ashtar and Yeshua. I did want to talk with I'll refer to this one as the representative of the Native Americans. I'd love to have a conversation asking questions in that regard as well. But if I may reserve an opportunity to do that at a later time. But I thank all of you for coming through and sharing what you have today.
Step into the love frequency. All of you. We always include Soma in everything we share, say, download, transmit. She is not separate in any way from our messages.
We have been talking with the entities, if you will, the beings of Ashtar and Yeshua, and we will have them back again to have another continuing conversation about other things that come to my mind, that the universe brings to my mind. As I've often said, the universe asks the questions, I'm just along for the ride. Carol Noonan has been my guest, and we are here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your cordial host, and we have been talking with the folks, the entities, I don't know exactly what word to use, of those who have been channeled through Carol Noonan. And if Carol is coming back to us here just in a couple of moments, we want to let you know that you can go to her website. And that website, ladies and gentlemen, is somaarah.love. That's SOMAARAH.LOVE. And we hope that you'll go there to find out more about the work that she is doing. Carol, I want to thank you for availing yourself of this opportunity to allow these individuals to come through you to share with us. It's been fascinating, and I'm hoping we can do this again in regards to specifically because of the continent on which we live, the American continent, as it is called, talking about the native rituals and traditions and ceremonies and the spiritual life, if you will, that those humans who are of that particular branch of the human race have experienced, and that in many instances, even from my limited lifetime, have stayed away from, have maybe neglected, not pursued, because I felt that they deserved some privacy, if you will, and then finding out that they is me, at least from that particular lineage. So I thank you so much, and I look forward to having you back again in the near future to continue this experience. That's really what this has been. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Richard. Likewise.
Does it take a lot out of you?
No.
Not at all.
It gives me energy Um, and sometimes most of the time I get very blissful and euphoric.
Hmm. So you're going to go out and build some barns and so forth with a bunch of other folks because you've got all that energy, that excitement. Well, thank you again. I really do appreciate it. I do want to ask you the questions that I ask all of my guests, those three. Before I do, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com with podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio. We're also on YouTube where you can watch these conversations, and we certainly hope that you will. We hope you'll subscribe as well as be notified. Click notification. And we also ask you to pick up a copy of Choices 5 Steps for Life. It's available on Amazon in hardcover paperback as well as Kindle with Audible coming soon. And we also ask that if you can help us out financially with a tip, we'd be gratefully appreciative. We have a PayPal account. It's there for your security as well as ours. We have links on the homepage of richarddugan.com to both Amazon and PayPal. So I hope you'll avail yourselves of those opportunities. And we also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within and listen to that still small voice. And with all of that, we go to our final questions for our very special guest. And again, my deep appreciation for your willingness to share with us in the way that you have. The first of those questions is, who is Carol Noonan?
We would say, I've stepped back into the channeling, we would say that she is an embodiment of us in human form, labeled as a star seed. And she is a part of a Starseed Collective to help. There are thousands of you that chose to come here to your planet to help assist humanity. This is a far bigger picture reality than you are led to believe. Those of you on Earth now are of huge significance in the evolutionary period that we are all in, regardless of what planet you live on.
Well, I will address the second question to Carol, and should the channels choose to inject, I'm open to that. The question is, what gets you up in the morning?
The sun and coffee.
And finally, what was your best day?
I've had so many, I don't know where to begin. My best day. Oh, there's so many, I can't choose.
Okay.
My best day would be, one of them would be reconnecting with, let us call him Coleman.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that. And I thank you again. You do look energized, by the way. And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I will see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for letting me be in your life. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.